Hey guys, Rudy Kalen here. We're gonna we're gonna talk Wico EKs. You're probably familiar with them. We do an awful lot of those magnetos here. I can't tell you how many of those things come into the shop. I buy a lot of them, a lot of cores. I rebuild them, sell them. Um, there's so many hit and miss engines that use the Wico EKs. I always try to have a number of them rebuilt and ready to go on the shelf. A lot of people send me their cores, and we exchange them for a really nice rebuilt unit. The rebuilt units I have are completely rebuilt, everything from the ground up, new coils, new points, new condenser, new lead out tower, new brass enclosures, new tag, um, everything. Everything is cleaned up and checked out, and the armature, if it's sloppy, it gets a new bushing. If the pin is bad in the front frame, we can do a couple things with those. We can either put a new pin in them, and I do that often, or I just I just swap it out for a different one. Um, Usually a bushing takes care of it, but sometimes the pins are worn so bad you have to put a new pin in it. And I can maybe a different video talk about how that is done. But I've had very good success with putting a new pin in the front frame and making sure the armature, the pole piece comes off of the magnets at the same exact time. They have to come off at the same exact time for optimal spark. Anyways, after I finish a Magneto, I have to test it, and I'm gonna give a couple pretty big shout outs to some friends that have helped me out immensely. Um, and both of these guys came into the shop as customers, and we quickly became pretty good friends. They're from the area, so they could stop by, and we just always had a good time chatting about tractors and engines and magnetos. And so one of them is Gary. I gotta thank Gary. I'm not gonna uh, say his last name. He'll know who he is. He was a machinist and has helped me out immensely in this shop, getting the shop built and getting it to where it is today. One of the things he's helped out with quite a bit is making fixtures for me. Being a machinist, he can make anything. So he's made a lot of stuff for me to test magnetos and made parts. He's done so much. I mean, the things he's done for me are countless. Thank you, Gary. I sure appreciate it. Um, so one of the things that we kind of made together, he did quite a bit of it, but I had an idea about getting some sort of a test mechanism or a device or fixture or whatever you want to call it on one of my um, test benches, the Magneto test bench. And of course, those you've seen them in other videos. They have a motor and it turns the magneto over and spins it up, and it's got a spark rack, and you can watch the spark. Um, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to get a fixture built for these Wico EKs and to just run them for a while? It's easy to build something, just trip it once or twice to see if it has spark, but I'd like to run it for a little bit and see how it does. So I acquired a part of an engine, an International Harvester or McCormick M um, engine. I think it was a horse and a half or 2 horse. I'm not sure what they call it, but they're Wico EK engines, and they have a side plate. You guys are probably familiar with them if you're into those engines. They have a side plate that the Magneto bolts up to, and as the engine turns, there's a gear inside that will run a cam that rocks, I guess a trip arm that hooks up to the bottom of the Wico EK Magneto and pulls down that pole piece and causes it to make spark. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to take this part of the engine and attach it to one of my fixtures that goes on the test bench and orient it so I can put a coupler so the motor can turn the cam or the arm that actuates the rocker that pulls the pole piece down or the armature down. So after working on it for about a day, we did it. We built. We pulled the gear off. I had some couplers for magnetos. We found one that fit the shaft and attached it and got a really nice Wico EK magneto tester together. And I'll show you that in just a little bit here. And I thought, well, that's great. That now I can rebuild a magneto and test it and make sure it runs. It doesn't drop sparks. It just works very well. And this tester has fit the bill. I'm gonna flip the camera around and show it to you. I think you've seen it before because I've got some other videos out with a Wico EK on my tester. So I'm gonna stop here for a second and flip the camera around and show you the Wico EK Magneto in my tester. All right, guys, here it is. Here's my my test bench. You've seen other magnetos in here, rotary mags, but it also works with this fixture that Gary and I built that will run a Wico EK magneto. So I'm going to go turn it on, and I'll just kind of be quiet a little bit and show you how the thing works. Let's turn it on here. Very well. Nice machine. You can speed it up, slow it down, or stop it. So there it is, the tester that we built for my test bench, and it works great in the shop. I'm gonna stop here again, and we'll talk a little more about what I really made this video for. So my next shout out is to another friend of mine and a customer that comes in here periodically, and he's basically an engine guy. He rebuilds a lot of engines, and he's a pretty smart guy. He was an engineer, and he's about as good of a machinist as I've ever come across. He's a very talented individual. His name is Gene, and Gene, I wanna thank you for what I'm gonna show everybody now. Gene and I were talking last fall after some of the shows, and I do a few shows and set up my booth, and I have a little trailer with a workbench, and I can if somebody needs some work done on their mag, I can do some things out of the trailer. I have a tester in there. I've got a spark rack. I've got a magnet charger. There's some things I can do working out of the trailer. Kind of fun to do. But one of the things I couldn't do is, and I see a lot of these Wico EK Magnetos at the shows, is test them. And I was telling Gene, I thought, man, if you ever come across another one of these engine, McCormick engine, kind of a side cover that the Magneto bolts onto, I said I'd be interested in it. And I told him, I said it'd be kind of nice to make one that's portable. And rather than taking the gear off and running it with an electric motor, maybe we could put a handle on it and turn it into kind of a crank, and just because all we have to do is run it a little bit just to make sure it makes spark, or to test somebody's mag to see if it's working or not. And he said, well, I think I might have some parts engines here. I'll look. I'll check it out. And since then we talked, and he never said anything. But a few days ago he calls up and he says, "Are you in the shop?" I go, "Yeah, I'm here working." He says, "I want to show you something." He said, "I'll be right over." So he stopped by, and he was carrying something in a bag, and he sets it down on my workbench and takes the bag off. And by golly, if you didn't build this Wico EK tester. And he said, "Well, this should fit the bill." He said, "I know we talked about it before," and he said, "I just had a lot of fun making the thing." He said, and it's yours. You can have it." I thought, wow, that's that's so cool. That I just am so thankful. So, Gene, I really want to thank you. Seriously, that was a very, very nice thing for you to do, and he did an excellent job. So I'm not going to keep you in suspense any longer. I'm going to turn the camera around and show you this tester that he made, and it's really cool. If you guys are going to be at Le Sueur, I'll have this with me so you'll be able to see it firsthand. Well, there it is, guys. It's looks a little dark in here, so I'm sorry if it's dark, but I'll come in a little bit closer. So he mounted it on this really nice solid aluminum base, and it's very sturdy. It's made out of I think he said it was a 3-horse M engine side cover. There it is. I put that's a Magneto that came in. It's a core that came in. I just kind of went through it and fixed it and made sure it had spark, and then I thought, well, if somebody wants a nice original mag, there it is. Otherwise, it will get rebuilt, and it'll look like this one. So I'll show you how it works. It's very similar to the other one. All you have to do is on the back here, rather than a motor, there's the crank. Isn't that nice? So all you have to do is turn it. There it goes. Okay, now where's the spark? Well, I'll show you. Gene built a little spark rack way inside here. See it? Very cool. It sparks all the time, but as you guys know, running other Magnetos on the test bench, the camera's frame rate does not catch every single spark. Sometimes it misses a spark, but this is a pretty nice mag, and it works very well. But here's my tester. It's a little portable Wico EK tester that I'm going to have in my trailer. So very cool. And Gene, thank you again. It's perfect. It will work exactly the way I needed it to work. The other thing I can do in the trailer is um, instead of hooking it up here, I do have a spark rack built into my trailer, and I tried it out there too, and it worked. It worked very well. So there it is, a nice portable Wico EK tester. Well, thanks guys for hanging in there, and until next time, we'll be in touch.